Welcome back to Unleashing You. Today, I speak with Kayla Caldwell. Kayla is known for her honest, high-energy approach to helping entrepreneurs put profits and peace of mind first. She is one of less than 400 profit-first professionals in the U.S. She's a certified QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor and a Gusto People Advisor. With a mix of sass and solid advice, she shares actionable steps to keep your books compliant, free up time, and ensure you pay your most important employee, you. With her guidance, you'll start putting your family first and find peace in your finances and business systems. So if you are a business owner or thinking of starting that side hustle, this conversation is for you. One thing I've learned from Kayla is that we don't have to wait years to make profit in our business. So if you're ready to start making some money, keep on listening. Welcome to Unleashing You. This podcast is your permission slip to create success your way. I'm your host, Amanda Riffey, a certified success coach and female business leader who has climbed her way up the corporate ladder. I've been through burnout and back and found the tools to bring fun and enjoyment to my career while creating powerful results and leading in a way that feels authentic to me. This show brings you conversations with women just like you who have created massive success for themselves and are doing it in their own way. We'll hear about their personal journeys of growing their career while still prioritizing the things they love most. If you are ready to be challenged and encouraged to reach your next level, then buckle up, sister, because the road to dreamy success begins here. Let's dive in. Kayla, I am very excited to have you on Unleashing You today. How you doing?
Good. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And for those who don't know, Kayla and I met at a retreat back in November. And just a quick plug for retreats because, I mean, when you go to those types of experiences, we were strangers on a Wednesday. And by Saturday, we're crying, we're hugging. We're like, you're going to be on my podcast. We're going to do all these things together. That is the power of putting yourself in those types of spaces. So I'm so happy to have you in my life.
4 days into lifelong friends. And then on top of it, we're boy moms together too, which just makes it even extra special.
Yes. I mean, yeah, we can just relate to each other on so many different levels. And Kayla, one of the biggest reasons, and you know this, but one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to have you on the podcast was, I mean, people need your gifts. Like we need what you can bring to the world and to us as female business owners. So we're going to dive into that, but I do want to give people a little bit of your backstory. So can you just share with us your career journey, your life journey? What do you want to share with us to give you kind of that backstory?
Yeah, so there's many ways. I did take many detours in my lifetime as far as my career, but ultimately I think what is most important is that my husband started this business in 2019. And if you would have asked me back then if I was going to be an entrepreneur, I would have told you were crazy. Sure enough, taxes rolled around and I went to do them for both of us. And I was like, how much did you spend in this? How much did you spend in that? And he was like, I don't know. Sure enough, it was intertwined in our personal, etc. And I was trying to get out of corporate at the time. I was also pregnant at the time, about ready to have a baby. And I was like, daycare is really expensive. On top of it, I want to be at home with my baby. So I was like, you know what? You're not the only entrepreneur that does this. I'm going to become a bookkeeper and I'm going to do it with only 8 hours in a week because I don't want to spend much more time away from my baby at all. So that's exactly what I did. And here we are almost 5 years later, and I am loving it. I've helped over 200 businesses become profitable, be compliant, and save more money and put more money in their pockets.
Heck yes. There are so many things in that I just want to call out. People are probably like, oh my gosh, who is this woman? Because I love that you were just like, you know what? You're not the only entrepreneur in this family. I'm going to do this too. And I'm going to kill it being a mom. And I'm going to do it with 8 hours in my week. So just watch me.
Now, granted, those 8 hours have grown to 20 hours, but I make sure that those 20 hours stay 20 to 25, I'd say I average a week. But yeah, I was up at 3 in the morning when my son was up at 3 in the morning, and I made it work.
Yeah. That's, again, part of the reason why you are so inspiring and why I just feel like your message needs to be out there. All right, well, let's get right into it, because I know, like, if I was a listener and I clicked on this episode, I'm probably interested in making some money, myself included, here. And that might be being a business owner. It might be starting a side hustle. Who knows? But talk to us about what you mean by profit first in business. Like, can you break this down for someone who is completely new to the profit first concept?
So Profit First is actually based off of a Profit First book by Mike Michalowicz. So I am a licensed Profit First professional. So I teach this on behalf of Mike Michalowicz to all kinds of business owners. And so kind of the idea behind it is, if you've ever heard of the envelope system for personal, we kind of apply that for the business. So what we do is we take every dollar that comes in and we spread it out based on percentage. So and there's many different brackets. So if you want to reach out to me for the different brackets, but I'm going to focus on that 0 to 250K. So if you just started your business, the idea is that for every $100, we move 5 to profit, 50 to owner's pay, 15 to taxes, and 30 to operating expenses. So that's kind of the idea there. However, there's like little nuances to it. So we kind of say, like, if you have cost of goods sold, meaning like you have a product that you have to provide, we say we're going to take that out first and then divvy it out based on those percentages. And those are percentages as well as dollars that I gave you too. So, for every $100, you pay yourself $50. That's kind of the idea behind it. But ultimately, what we do as far as like profit first, when it comes to the simplicity of it, is normally when we talk about numbers, it's sales minus expenses. And then whatever's left over is what we put in our pockets. And with profit first, we switch that around. We take sales less our profit, we pay ourselves first, and then we take whatever's left over is left for our expenses, forces us to be more creative and forces us to take care of ourselves first.
Oh my gosh. So somebody's probably listening to this, again, speaking for myself, and being like, oh, I've been doing it backwards this whole time. Like, and that's the whole concept, right? Like, that's why it is a concept, is because naturally we are like, okay, pay all the bills, do all the expenses, whatever. And then whatever's left, if there's anything left, I can take that as pay. And I'm wondering, I'm just picturing this like woman driving in her car, and you saying like, you brought in $100, 50 of it goes to you. And I'm like, what?
Overwhelm, right? Yes.
Yeah. It's so simple, yet not something that we're used to. What are some of the results that you see in businesses from that strategy?
So many things. So first off, they realize, holy crap, where is my money going? They're like, I could have been paying myself what? So one of the stories that Mike tells in his book is he talks about this leather company, and he talks about how they did this and they paid themselves first, and then they realized they only had $100 for a multiple $1,000 process. So they actually went to Home Depot. And they were like, okay, I got to figure out how to cure leather with only $100 in my pocket. How am I going to do that? So that's where like the whole idea of whatever's left over, you get more creative. And they've done it, by the way, and they now have a patent for this new special leather curing service. When we're talking about my clients specifically, when we started just saving, and what I tell my clients is just start simple. Start with just a savings account for your taxes and a savings account for your profit. Start with just 1%. We got to take baby steps in order to be successful. And every 3 months, maybe increase that to 2%. And same thing for taxes. I would say start closer to that 2 to 5% and increase it to 15. But I've had a client, her entire profit went straight to her husband's wedding ring when they got married. I had another client that she started saving for taxes. Her tax bill was paid, and her CPA and her bookkeeper bill was paid. That's how simple it can be, in the sense of like, we're already saving up for it throughout the year that it's already going to be so special. And then, of course, I have the clients that have a little bit more profit than some of us, including myself. Like my first profit actually went to a latte because it was just celebrating the hard work that I did in my business.
Yes, I love it.
And then the other one was she's been as much as like taking herself on vacation, and she's been able to pay for an entire, traveling the world basically with her profit. And so like with the whole idea of profit too, is it's about celebrating you. It is ultimately to bonus yourself. But the only other time that we kind of talk about profit too is maybe to pay off some debt too, to allow yourself to get into a full cash basis. And then the owner's pay is a little bit separate because that's what's going to sustain your lifestyle.
So many questions. So many questions.
And I jumped around a bit for you. Sorry.
No, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. What would be, okay, so again, I'm just kind of picturing myself as somebody listening to this and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, that all sounds great. What do I do if I know I am, and you and I talked about this personally, of like, what if I know I am upside down in that strategy right now? Like, what would be kind of my next steps?
You got to start. You just do it. You literally just start. You open a high yield savings account and you start 1% of your profit. That's it. I would say at least 1% of your taxes in another high yield savings account too. So open 2 more bank accounts that are high yield so that your money's making money for you while it just sits there and you're saving it and you know it's going to go somewhere one day. Just start with 1%. And you'd be surprised like how much 1% adds up to and how much you can just really celebrate yourself with just that. When we're talking about profit, like I said, the only time we ever use profit for something else other than celebrating is for debt. So we say save up that 1%. And then when it comes to the end of the quarter, the end of the year, however long you want to save for, 50 to 99% of that goes to your debt. The other 50 to 1% goes to celebrating you. So there is never a time that it does not go to celebrating you.
That feels so manageable.
Yeah, it's just 1%. It's baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
That is the key to being successful with Profit First is baby steps.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you have that plan for debt built in there too, because, I know many of us have shame around debt. We feel like, how the heck are we ever going to get ourselves out of this? We feel bad that we're even there in the first place. I mean, I've done a lot of personal work and, that growth journey is never done, but around reframing even just my feelings towards debt and being grateful for the ability and the resources that I had at the time to be able to provide for myself, to be able to provide for my family, to be able to invest in those different things, in events, retreats, right? All that kind of stuff, whether I was hosting it or attending it. So I love that that's built in there and it kind of takes the shame away from that as well.
Yeah, well, and like that is something that even as your corporate girlies, they can absolutely do 1% of their, first of all, they should be doing the max that their company matches for 401k, obviously, because that's free money right there that we don't want to lose out on. But you can do the same thing where you can have your paycheck when you have direct deposit split into 2 different accounts, and you can take 1% and just put it directly into a savings account and put it towards your debt as well. It's just a nice, simple way that you're like, okay, I just didn't even see it and it's already there and it's already saving me money. And debt it has such this bad connotation when ultimately we just need to be utilizing it correctly. If we're utilizing it to grow our business and to invest in our people that we know that it's going to come back to us tenfold, then that's what we need to do. The other big thing that a lot of people forget about too when we're paying off debt, but this is just a little tip, is you need to pay, if you're going to be making an extra payment towards debt, it needs to be going to principal only. And the only unfortunate part about that is banks make it really hard to make that principal only payment. So you do have to contact your bank to ask them how to do that. So if your payment is $50 and you want to make an extra $500 payment, make sure that that extra $500 payment is just going to principal only.
That is a great tip. A great tip. I hope you're enjoying today's episode. I wanted to interrupt for a brief moment to let you know that I'm currently enrolling in one-on-one private coaching. If you are ready to go all in and see big results, this is for you. With my Transforming You option, we will spend 3 months together focused just on you. Working one-on-one in this capacity will skyrocket your growth beyond your wildest dreams. This is the deep inner work. We will dig into your goals, your dreams, the things that are holding you back, the things you didn't even know were holding you back. This is what will unlock that next level of you, whatever that might be. Maybe you want to step into that next promotion at work or grow your own business. Maybe you're longing for more balance between your career and your family. Or maybe you're unsure of what you're craving next and you want to find more clarity on your career and life direction. That's what we'll unpack together. No 2 sessions are alike. Plus, you'll have on-demand access to me throughout our entire time together. You will go through such a transformation as you step into the next era of you. This is the personal growth that takes years to accomplish on your own. So let's accelerate that and get you the results you're craving right now. Send me a message on Instagram or head to acrprofessionalcoaching.com to learn more. I'll also put the details in the show notes for you. Your road to dreamy success begins here. Now, back to the episode. The other thing that you mentioned in there was that no matter how much money is coming in, there's always a percentage that goes to celebrating you or paying yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel like makes that so important? Because it'd be easy to be like, I'm just putting all of it towards paying off this debt, or I'm paying, I've got all these expenses. What makes it important to make sure that you are paying yourself?
Ultimately, I think you need to assign the dollar, right? And what I mean by that is how much you need to make to sustain your lifestyle in some sense, right? So we know that we need to cut in certain ways if we are in debt, but we also need to make sure that we're staying healthy and mentally healthy too. So if that coffee every morning is what gets you going, I don't care that it's $10. Just budget for it. That's fine. You can absolutely do that. And let's be real, they only have the bad connotation around our coffees and our nails and our hair. They don't have the bad connotation around golf and all the things. That said, I spend all of my money on skiing, but the point is that you want to make sure that you're just assigning the dollar, you're creating a budget for yourself, that you are sustaining that high mental health as well as that success. So yes, absolutely, you need to pay off that debt as soon as possible, but just make sure that you're just assigning the dollar correctly after you've taken care of yourself too.
Okay, 2 things in what you just said. Number 1, that is so true what you just said about the connotation. And you hear it all the time, like, just skip your latte. And then, you only hear a few people be like, get the damn latte if that's what you want. Like, if that is what lights you up, go get it. If that's going to make you feel great about yourself for the day, who cares? That's not going to make it or break it, but budget for it.
Might mean that you need to give up one Netflix subscription for the month, but it's fine. But that's only $15. That's only one latte. It's fine.
Yeah. And and one of the things that I have thought about, and I've had other guests on too, talking about from a money perspective, but budgeting isn't necessarily a bad thing. We also dread that. And what I think is so important is that we're spending money where it aligns with our values,
yes,
where it aligns with what's important to us. Like, I will spend money on travel and new experiences and making new memories because that is one of my core values. I can't imagine being like, no, we're never doing that anymore, because I would be a shell of a human if I didn't do that.
Exactly.
But to somebody else, that might not be something that is, at the top of their list. They might rather, want to go out to eat or, whatever the thing is. So I love when you just kind of think about it as putting it towards your values. The other thing that I kind of picked up on what you were talking about is that like when you're talking about this, it feels very non-emotional and not in a bad way. It's very much of like money is just an exchange, right? Money is just how we say, okay, I put $100 of value on this pair of jeans. So that feels like a great energetic exchange for me. And we tie so much emotionally to money that I just want to call that out, that I can tell like you've really been able to separate that a little bit more than probably most of us.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, it's because I still have quite a bit of debt. And I've had to, because there's so much shame in that I've had to really separate that, as well as like there is this money mindset shift of like when you really realize what your values are and you've really put your expenses down on paper to figure out where you assign your dollar and know that it's assigning with your values, then it's easier to let it go because you already have you've already put the emotion into money when you've assigned it to a value, right? Like I know that I like to veg out and watch my Hallmark shows, and we like to watch our Netflix shows. So I'm going to spend the $15 a month to spend a little time with my husband and watch our Netflix shows. So there's just like these little things that if you already know that they are aligned with your values and your dollars are going to your values, then it's a peaceful idea rather than so much emotion. And I think when you kind of said that, and as I'm talking about this, there's just so much negativity around money. And the reality is money is always exchanging hands, no matter who's in charge. But the ultimate answer for all of this is we just want to make sure we're maximizing what goes into our pockets so that we're spending money where our values are.
Beautiful. Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Okay. You also provide bookkeeping services.
I do.
For businesses. So what bookkeeping secrets can you share with us?
So I am a QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor. I only work in QuickBooks Online. That is my big thing that I've just found that one, it's easy for me to understand. Our CPAs also understand it. So it's just for the simplicity, even though it's a little bit more expensive, Intuit's going in its crazy ways. Ultimately, I've just found it grows with my clientele the easiest way, as well as like it makes our CPA and our bookkeeper bill a little bit less because we're not working in some foreign thing that we're not used to. The other part about that is I would say at least QuickBooks Simple Start or higher for the subscription. 9 times out of 10, you probably don't need Advanced and you probably don't need Plus because you're probably not working in inventory and you probably don't need it that high because you probably can use it in somewhere else. But as far as the big like QuickBooks tips that I would say is double check your undeposited funds. If you have not matched those to your deposits, then you're probably doubling your income. And then also just be aware of the word transfer. Transfer in QuickBooks means that you're transferring within accounts of QuickBooks, not outside of accounts. So if you transfer money from a business account to a personal account in QuickBooks, you're not actually transferring it, you're categorizing it. And that was a lot of words and that was a lot of mumbo jumbo. I know.
But if somebody's in QuickBooks, they're like, oh yeah.
But yeah, if you're in QuickBooks, you're like, okay, I need to check these. And oh, did I double my income? Because that's a big one that every time I'm in somebody's new books, it's like, oh, you've doubled your income here. We need to look at this. So
yeah. Okay, what if, and I know you work specifically in QuickBooks, what if somebody's listening and they don't use QuickBooks, but like any overall bookkeeping tips to help us keep our books clean?
Yeah. First account that I look for on a profit and loss account would be reimbursable expenses. That is not a thing when it comes to taxes. You're losing out on write-offs. So if you have reimbursable expenses on your profit and loss, you're probably losing out on money. So when you are reimbursing either yourself or a contractor or an employee for something, it needs to be categorized as that. So if you go and buy office supplies on your personal card and you need to reimburse yourself, make sure that that reimbursement is marked as office supplies.
Yes. Ooh, that's a good tip. That's really good. That's really good. Okay. Last kind of topic that I want to make sure that we hit on before we wrap up is I've heard you talk about this concept of managing your time like you do your money. What do you mean by that?
So in Profit First, we talk about this law called Parkinson's Law. And the idea behind it is if for whatever resource you have, you're going to utilize all of that resource. So the idea behind money is if you have $100 for a project, you're going to use all $100. If you have $1,000 for that same project, you're going to use all $1,000. Now, we as business owners with integrity, both projects are going to have the same outcome. It might look a little different because we only had $100 versus $1,000, but we're still going to provide amazing quality product. Same thing goes for your time. We know this, especially as moms. If we only have an hour for nap time to work, we're going to utilize that hour and we're going to get what we think is like 6 hours worth of work done in 1 hour. So we do that. And we all know that like that hour sometimes turns into 10 minutes because we're nice and lucky. But, things happen. So ultimately, the idea behind it is when you budget your time, you also are budgeting your money. So for the same reason with Parkinson's Law. So instead of thinking, okay, I've got 40 hours this week, I got to get all these things done. How can I be more efficient with my time? Can I create more systems that allow me to get this done in 20 hours versus the 40 hours? And because ultimately, when it comes down to it, when we know that we only have 20 hours to get it done and we budgeted only 20 hours, even though we probably have 40 hours to do it, we're going to get it done faster and probably sometimes better because you've created the systems to automate it too.
Ooh, that is good. That is really good. Because I think about when I do budgets for events, of course, I hit that budget every single time. Every single time. I will spend just, the exact amount that I told myself that I would, if not more. And then with the efficiency and the equivalent of your time, I know that when I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit down for this power hour and I'm just going to do this thing and here's exactly what I'm going to get done. I am so much more productive than when I have like a whole day of like, okay, I'm going to get all this stuff done today, but I don't budget it. And then I'm like, 2 hours went by. I'm like, what did I actually do in this time?
Yeah. Well, and that's where our time audits also come in as well. If you're auditing your time, so you write down your tasks that you do, at least in a 1 day, maybe an entire week, I'd say even 30 days. We do this for time audits as well. What did you do in those tasks? And then can you delegate them? Can you trim them? Can you trash them? Can you transfer them? That's what we tend to do. So we actually do time audits even because I know I spend way too much time when I do have an entire day versus that power hour, like you said, on social media. And I'm scrolling.
Yeah. I caught myself doing that today, actually. And I was like, what am I doing? It's because I had a whole morning almost open and where yesterday I was fitting it into the times that I had. Totally true. Okay. Thank you, first of all, so much for all of this wisdom because you are making me feel smarter and more empowered in my own business. Where can our listeners find you if they want to connect or if they need some of this Profit First in their life?
Absolutely. So you can find me at KCV Bookkeeping on Instagram. My actual company name is KC Virtual Bookkeeping, and that's kcvirtualbookkeeping.com as well. We have our client application there, but you're more than welcome to reach out to me on Instagram with a DM. I love answering those and any quick, questions I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, we have a free consultation where we help you just, answer the questions and maybe where to start too. After you fill out our client application, you'll get a link to my calendar.
Beautiful. And that is KC as in your initials.
That is correct.
Which
yes.
we do have everything linked here. So just click the links and you'll get it. But yes, it's KC like Kayla Caldwell initials.
Thank you.
Perfect. And I have my Profit First call booked. So I'm excited yet a little nervous. I will update everyone on how it goes.
We got you.
But you have taken all of that worry away from me, because I know that this is, like you said, you just have to take the first step.
Baby steps. That's the important part, is if you will not be successful unless you take baby steps.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here we go. We're on that journey. We are getting that profit. We are making that money. Kayla, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I know that we are going to continue to collaborate. We've got some things in the works for 2025. So just a little teaser, if you are somebody who is looking to start that business, grow that business alongside of your 9-to-5, we've got you. And Kayla is going to be joining us for some of those things in that mastermind as well. So more to come.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you'd like to continue this conversation, connect with me on Instagram and say hello. You can find me at AmandaRiffy_coaching. In the meantime, if you know you are ready to step into the next incredible version of you and want to completely accelerate your personal and professional growth, let's work together. I offer one-on-one private coaching as well as workshops and in-person events. There's really something for everyone. To learn more, visit my website at acrprofessionalcoaching.com or send me a DM on Instagram and start a conversation. And don't worry, I truly want all of us to succeed. So I promise I will never steer you wrong. Let's create a career and life you love. Chat with you again soon.